Welcome to Talking Crop, the Goodyear Farm Tires podcast for farmers by farmers.
Hi, I'm Will Evans and welcome to episode 6, the final episode of the first series of the Goodyear Farm Tires podcast, Talking Crop. And today we're down in Wiltshire to talk to farmer Mike Wilkins.
Hello.
You live in a beautiful area. I've been through some real picture book English villages on the way here. It's gorgeous.
It really, I absolutely adore where we live. I'm obviously very biased to it. I do always say that people don't think of Wiltshire as kind of a place to go, really. People drive through it either to get to the southwest or to go to London or what have you, but it's so pretty. But I'm kind of quite happy it's a bit undiscovered because it's also really quiet.
Yeah, it's a bit like that where I live as well. People kind of go through northeast Wales on the way to Snowdonia or the Welsh coast and no one stops.
We get quite so many hordes of tourists around.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And everyone, whenever people come, they say it's lovely, and you kind of take it for granted a little bit, don't you, when you live there? But yeah.
I think I spent a lot of time working away from the farm, coming back to the farm, and every single time I ever come back, I think it still hits me every single time how beautiful it is here. And I've lived in cities a lot, and every time I drive back to the farm and I just come up over the downs and I just like exhale and just feel so happy with how beautiful it is. So I try and not let go of how amazing it is.
I can totally understand why. So have you got deep roots in the area? The family been here a long time?
Yeah. So I'm fourth generation here in Wiltshire, not just on this farm. My great-grandfather was a tenant farm a few miles away, and he was milking a dozen cattle, not much more. And when the farm came up for sale, he was able to buy the farm, which was absolutely amazing. And then his son, my grandfather, kind of took that on, carried on milking, and then he set up a contracting business with my dad, when my dad was a lot younger. And then back in the 80s, the council compulsory purchased the farm, and so that's why they ended up moving here. We're able to grow the acreage a bit, and so Dad's passion or dream was always to kind of get into arable farming. So we started arable here. Grant carried on with the cattle, and then my sister and I came along in the 90s, and we're sort of both kind of carrying on and taking it on now. Sadly, both my grandparents are no longer with us, but mum, dad, me and Chloe are sort of very much ingrained here.
So did you grow up wanting to be a farmer, being born in that sort of legacy? Did you always want to be part of the business?
Yeah, definitely. I think when I was kind of growing up, it was sort of it was so kind of implicit that that's what I would do. Although my parents are really good because they never like kind of pressed on that you must do this, and they were always kind of you kind of needs to be your decision, and didn't want to force us into it, which I think was really, really helpful. So we didn't begrudge it in any way, and we kind of took it as the amazing opportunity that it is rather than it feeling like a burden. I definitely went through a stage where I sort of questioned whether or not I did want to go into farming, and I kind of went off and worked in other places, and then ended up coming back into the industry with some amazing work opportunities, and came back to it on my own terms when I kind of really settled upon how much I actually love it. So I think what I didn't want to do was kind of passively fall into it at a really young age and just kind of get stuck in a bit of a rut here. I feel like going away and coming back and working in other places has really helped me to appreciate and develop my own kind of love for the industry. And I've learned other things working elsewhere, and then brought a lot of that back to the farm as well. I think it's given a lot more gravitas to my ability to kind of say to mum and dad, let's try this crazy new thing. And rather than it just kind of being born out of my own head, like I've done it in other places. So there's a bit of, I can show them a bit of like working evidence saying, it's actually a really good idea.
and have they been quite open-minded to your ideas and change?
Yeah, definitely. They really are. And I feel really lucky about that. And Dad's like, he'll be hesitant about an idea and he'll think it's a bad idea, and then soon as you like
plant the seed,
when you plant the seed, then as soon as he thinks it's his idea,
that's exactly what I have to do with my own.
And then so like we've gone minimum tillage, we're doing strip till tillage, and Dad, we've always ploughed, power harrowed twice, and absolutely, and all of the fields always looked immaculate, like billiard tables, and Dad's always been really kind of proud about the land and it all looking immaculate. And so the kind of transition to reducing tillage was completely against everything that he's
it's a mindset thing, isn't it, I think?
Absolutely. And it was such a big kind of decision and change, and it was a long time of kind of discussing. And now he thinks it's the best thing in the world. And we still plough rotationally, but he's completely signed up to the system that we've got now, and he will sort of talk all the benefits of it to people for hours and hours, trying to convincing others. So as soon as you get them on board, they're really positive and encouraging.
Sure. So tell us about the farm now. What have you got going on? What are you growing?
Yeah, so we've got we're about 650 acres of arable owned in house, and then we're contracting a lot of land with neighbouring farms, all on share farm agreements. So we're doing about 2,000 acres of arable total, and so obviously normal wheat, barley, oilseed rape. We are still persevering with oilseed rape. We've not had a year without it in the rotation yet. We have lost as much as 90% of some of our year's cropping, but we are still carrying on with it. Beans, linseed, we've had some canary seed in. We did some trials with chickpeas on a small scale, which didn't go very well. So trying to look at broadening rotations as much as we possibly can. We've had rye in rotation. And then, in addition to the arable side, which is kind of very much my dad's kind of remit and passion, and mine as well. And then about 5 years ago, we started a menagerie of rare breed native livestock, which is my sister's passion. So my gramp used to have beef cattle on the farm up until the millennium, actually. We sold out the beef and we converted the yard into an equestrian yard, which is what my mum kind of runs on the farm. Which works really, really well. But my sister's always had a passion for livestock, and she milks on a couple of neighbouring farms, and she works on a couple of other beef and goat farms in the area, and it's always been what she's wanted to do. And she's always said it's not a proper farm if you don't have any animals. So we started with a couple of chickens, and then back in 2020, just before my grandmother died, actually, she bought my sister her first pigs. And my nan used to, when their previous farm, back pre-80s, my nan used to look after the pigs there.
Oh, that's lovely.
So it was a lovely continuation. And so she started with 2 pigs, and now Oxford Sandy and Black. And then we've now got British white cattle, we've got Wiltshire horn sheep, and then we've also got Exlana sheep. We've got some bull goats. I can't tell you why. I don't think any of us can. They're not native and they're not rare breeds, so they don't really fit with the ethos of everything else. But yes, and then our want is to have more produce coming off the farm that goes direct to consumer. So we've got a click and collect online shop, and everything is slaughtered in the parish in one direction and butchered in the parish in the other direction.
Wow, you're lucky having
We're honestly so lucky to have the slaughterhouse so close and an amazing butcher, and we have everything packed and labelled, and then we freeze it here, and we just sell it locally and sell it to pubs, and it's been going really, really well. But yeah, I do appreciate how lucky we are to have the facilities so close to enable us to do that. And if either of those kind of closed or went away, we would be devastated, and it'd completely change what we can do here.
It's a big issue, isn't it, with the slaughterhouses? A lot of people doing direct sales are struggling now, aren't they? Because they're closing, aren't they? Yeah,
just having to send animals so much distance, which then doesn't help with welfare, and it makes it uneconomical, and it's really challenging. So we're really, really lucky with that. Our sort of dream is to take that one step further. We'd love to open a farm shop here on the farm, and it's something that my sister and I especially have been dreaming about for many, many years. And we'd love to have in-house butchery and really make local food as absolute kind of mainstay of it. So that's kind of the longer term dream, is to be able to ramp up production a little bit more. And so that Chloe and I can come back full time on the farm and really kind of make that fly, hopefully.
Yeah, I suppose it's just making the business more diverse as well, isn't it? And more future proof. And the arable sector's under a bit of pressure at the moment. They're like, it's that classic up horn, down corn at the moment, isn't it? So I suppose it's income streams and
completely. Yeah, I think just trying to diversify, exactly as you say. So you risk management when one area of the farm is doing better than the other, and also because my sister and I are both very, very keen to want to be here on the farm and to derive our living from the farm. And, my parents have to derive a living as well. So we've got 3 families. And so the farm needs to have enough strings to its bow, not just to be stable, but to produce enough to kind of cover all of those people as well, and the people we employ. We're just hoping that Chloe and I can sort of keep growing it enough that we can kind of both be here for the long term.
Fantastic. Just tell me a bit more about the British white cattle, because I'm a cattle farmer. I love cattle, but we buy all ours in as dairy bred, so they're kind of blues and crosses. But I like British white cattle. So.
They're gorgeous. I think people probably more familiar might know the white parks, which they're white cattle with black tips on the nose and ears, and the white parks have enormous horns, absolutely huge, and that's the cows that Chloe fell in love with to start with, and then purely from a management practicality perspective, we then looked into the British whites. I think there's about 4,000. I think it's just dropped below 4,000 globally. So they're very much on the at-risk register, and they're native to the UK. They date all the way back to sort of wild roaming cattle in the north. And they're such a beautiful breed. They're really very docile, very, very easy to handle, and just beautiful. And they just produce the most amazing meat as well. They're quite slow growing, so they're not, that's why all these rare breeds are not the best commercial, intensive breeds. But they do make. I know I'm biased, but I do think that our beef is absolutely amazing. We just love them. We do actually have a few Herefords as well, because my sister's husband-to-be, who also works full-time for us on the farm, he turned 30 last year, and so we bought him some Hereford cattle. Chloe sort of organised all of that, and she did the main of it, and we all contributed a bit to get him some Herefords, which has always been his dream to have his own Herefords. So Chloe's British whites and his Herefords run together, which is lovely. Yeah,
I like Herefords. There's quite a lot of Herefords sort of in Shropshire and Herefordshire, where obviously in Herefordshire, not far from me, but they're beautiful to see. We're at Tenbury Show, which is every summer. They have the national Hereford stock judging championships, and it's just sight to see. And those very old stock lines are the traditional Herefords, the very small ones. It's I can get quite nerdy over this stuff. So we won't take up a whole podcast with that. So you've got an awful lot going on. I guess there's a lot of people involved as well, with obviously the families and a lot of people on the farm at all times.
Yeah. So I mean, Mum and Dad are here. So Mum and Dad and Chloe and Sam all live on the farm, and then Matt and I, my partner and I, we live 20 minutes away. Okay. Our hope, Matt and I are getting married this year, and Chloe and Sam are getting married this year, which
big year.
Yeah, really big year. Terrible planning on all of our parts, but it's going to be a really big year. And then hopefully next year, Matt and I are planning to move back here to the farm, so we all kind of want to be here. Chloe keeps saying she's refusing to have children until she's got her uncles on site to for free babysitting.
Very wise.
So Mum, Dad, Chloe and Sam are here all the time, and Matt and I are here sort of 3 to 5 days a week, because I work elsewhere for 2 days a week. Okay. We're here a lot of the time. We employ one other full-time person, but then also because we've got the equestrian yard, which is sort of 30 livery stables, there's people in and out all day constantly with that. So there's always a lot of people around. It's just the kitchen. I mean, poor Chloe, she lives in the farmhouse. The farmhouse is sort of open season most of the time, so we have 10-10 toast at 10 o'clock every morning, where we have toast and marmalade and tea and coffee, and any reps or anyone in the area that's driving by, everyone seems to turn up at 10 o'clock because they know.
Yeah, so you're obviously a people person. You obviously like being around people and the buzz of conversation.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's one of the things actually that put me off a little bit in farming when I was younger, because the farm's grown, and Mum and Dad have worked so hard to build the farm up to what it is on the back of what Nanny and Grampy had done. But when I was younger and growing up, like Dad was like the only full-time person on the farm, and he literally would work every single hour of every single day. And he'd be out in the tractor on his own, and it was very, very isolating. And that was kind of my viewpoint of farming when I was growing up, is being really hyper isolated. And I was really shy. Like at school, I was the most non-outgoing person, didn't really have many friends. Chloe was like my best friend, and you know, we wouldn't ever leave the farm outside of school. We'd, you know, some holidays we wouldn't see another person other than each other, and so I don't really know what made it flip for me, but I didn't want that, and so started joining, I was on the council at school and joining clubs and doing different things, and that's kind of when I decided I want to go off to uni, because I kind of didn't want to just end up being isolated and you know, stuck in that bubble. And yeah, now people can't shut me up.
That's why we asked you to do the podcast. All right, so tell us about Bake Off. Well, start off, tell us about cooking. When did you start cooking? Is that something you've always been interested in? So it kind of started with baking, because Mum, we'd never be allowed to have a birthday cake that wasn't homemade. So for all the family, and Mum would always make birthday cakes, and Mum would always make puddings and things like that. And so my sister and I kind of joined in with that. And then we got a bit older, and we used to take on that responsibility, and we used to love baking cakes and things for people. And then I'd always done that, and I would take cakes in like latter years of school and in sixth form, and I'd bake for all my friends and like birthdays, and just kind of something that I really enjoyed doing. I think actually, as I say, I was quite a shy, reserved person, and I find if you go into a room of people with a box of cake, suddenly you're everyone's best friend. And it's a really, really nice way to introduce yourself. It's a great icebreaker, and I have always kind of used it for that purpose, and it really helped me to be able to be more talkative and to give a kind of starter point with people. And then kind of from that, I just adore cooking. My favourite thing in the whole world is to make a massive roast dinner for as many people as want to come. And you know, the first time I met Matt's parents, we'd only been together for about a fortnight, and we went to their house, his parents' house, and I sort of rocked up in the kitchen and was like, yeah, I'll make us a roast, and made a massive roast dinner. And I do that now every time we go around, and like I love making roast for friends. And well, it's mine and Matt's stag weekend this weekend coming, and I was up until the early hours of this morning making cottage pies and lasagnas for 35 people. So I just love it. I just love how communal food is, and it just gives me such a buzz and makes me so happy. And I think it does link so well with the farm. And because I care about food and the origin of our food, and so it's all kind of woven together. And I don't know, it's just always been a passion. Amazing. What are your best tips for cooking a good roast dinner?
So the best roast potatoes, parboil from cold water. Don't boil the water, because if you boil the water, then they cook from the outside in, and they all break up more easily. So boil them in cold water, and then a little bit of corn flour, some oil, whatever oil of your choice, and shake them like hell in the saucepan. Then crisp them in the oven, and you'll have perfect roast potatoes. Because I do think roast potatoes make or break a roast. And when it comes to the meat, I am a sucker for slow cooking. So I love sticking something in a pot and cooking it for 8 hours and just having it fall apart. And
nice. Yorkshire puddings?
Yes, always Yorkshire puddings with everything. I don't think you can ever go wrong with Yorkshire puddings. You make the batter the day before and let it rest in the fridge overnight.
Maybe that's where I go wrong, because sometimes I cook them and I can't get them to rise.
Yeah.
And my kids call them Cambridgeshire puddings because they're so flat.
So make them. You want to make the batter the night before, and leave it in the fridge to just settle, and just make sure that the oil is absolutely like scorching hot before you put them in, and don't touch the door once they're in. Shout at anyone that goes near the oven.
It's not hard with my kids.
The Talking Crop podcast is produced by Goodyear Farm Tires, leading the field in farming innovation, reliability and performance. View our wide range of tyres at goodyearfarmtires.eu or visit the link in the description.
So I looked on the Bake Off website last night, and we'll get on to Bake Off in a minute, but it said Mike's baking style is homely and wholesome. He likes making big, hearty bakes using high-quality local ingredients that can satisfy lots of people at parties and gatherings.
Yeah.
So that sounds like it's
There
pretty
you go,
accurate. Yeah. And then, but it also then says he especially loves using seasonal fruit and edible flowers from his garden and farm. So you're growing edible flowers as well. That's cool.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think people kind of don't realise how many flowers are edible.
There is loads, isn't
So,
there?
I'm growing all the flowers for our wedding, and I've planted 6,500 tulips.
Oh, wow.
Which I'm very excited about. And then I'm going to decorate the cake with the tulip petals because they're edible, which a lot of people don't know. And obviously roses and violas and lilacs and so much is edible. So I just think it's a really nice way, like hawthorn blossom and all these different things. You can just forage down the hedgerows and just find something really nice. And to be honest, it's just a much easier way of making something look really pretty than spending age. Like, I'm not good with piping and decoration in that sense. So actually, if you can just get something else that looks pretty that you could just find, it's a much easier way of making something look beautiful.
Yeah, and also I guess it's a talking point, isn't it? That social aspect of it again.
Definitely. My parents hate it. Whenever they don't like seasoning, or like they're very traditional, like salt and pepper.
I think that's in all because my parents like that. The hint of spice. Nope.
No, they won't touch it.
I think that's an older generation farming thing.
So yeah, if ever I bring anything in and it's got flowers on it, I'm like, oh god, Mike's off on one again.
All right. So, how did Bake Off come about?
So people have kind of asked me, because I love baking and people have always known that. Lots of friends have asked me for years, why don't you go on Bake Off? And I've always watched it. Well, the early years actually I couldn't watch it because it was on during August, during harvest.
Oh yeah.
So I used to listen to updates on the radio and then I kind of watch it back later. But I've always loved it, and people have always said, and I've always thought, oh, it would be fun, but I'll never get on it because I genuinely don't think I'm that good a baker. I still think that. But I made a wedding cake for a friend, and it went really, really well, and it was beautiful, and they absolutely loved it. And so a couple of people then started asking me, am I going to make our wedding cake? And I chatted with Matt, and I was like, oh, it could be a good thing. And he said, absolutely no, because we're doing everything else ourselves as well. And he said, you'll be so stressed and there's too much to do. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I sort of said, well, if I went on Bake Off, I'd have to make the cake because everyone would say. And so he sort of rolled his eyes and went, yeah, if you go on Bake Off, you can make the cake. So last year when the applications went out, I was like, well, it's the last year that I could go on Bake Off before the wedding. And people had still been asking, are you making the cake? And I thought, well, I'll apply, I won't get on, and then in my wedding speech I can say I didn't make the cake because I didn't get on Bake Off. And I thought I'd be a little chuckle, and then that'll be that. And then the joke kept going and the application process kept going, and then here we are. So yeah, that was kind of the catalyst that started it. And I genuinely never thought it would happen. And yeah, I think they loved my story with the farm and using produce from the farm and that side of it, because there's even like in my auditions, I wasn't the best one there. And I was thinking, well, this has been great fun, but I'm not going any further because there's so, like, all the people are just amazing.
But I guess they're looking for personality in a story, because it is a TV show as well, isn't it? So I don't know, but I would imagine, because if you get someone who's the best baker in the world, but they're really dull.
Yeah,
There's no way
and you do screen tests and things, and like. They all during the audition process, they're obviously looking for different factors as well. And I suppose they're trying to put together a group that they think will gel as well, and has a good mix of all different backgrounds and everything, which they always seem to manage so perfectly. Still genuinely cannot believe that it happened. I didn't apply wanting to kind of do anything off the back of it particularly. I just wanted to come back to the farm, and if I can the one thing I said, that if I can use a bit of the platform from it to just be a voice and an advocate for British farming and British food, and then that would be amazing. And yeah, it's been just bonkers, really.
What was the experience like of being there? Were you really nervous, or when they started filming, were you nervous? And when you met the presenters and everything, what was it?
I cried when I first met Alison. I adore Alison, I think, and I was a bit apprehensive because you sort of, don't meet heroes kind of thing. And she just seems, when you watch her on TV, she just seems like the most bubbly, fun, down-to-earth person. And I thought, she's really busy. She's met thousands of people. She's just going to want to get on, do her bit, and then I don't want to, disturb. But she was just brilliant.
That's nice.
And from the first moment we met, I heard her laugh as she was walking out across the field, and I just started crying. And she came straight over and she was like, "Oh, Babs, you're right." and she'd come into our green room, have lunch with us every day, and we went to the loo together. I was going off the loo, and I heard Alison coming over, and I came running back, and I was like, "Oh, I'm not going to run off when you're here." And she said, "It's all right, Babs, I need to go to the loo as well." So she grabbed me by my arm, and we walked off to the loo together. We both went in the loo, and I thought, well, I'm going to be quiet because this will be weird. And she's there in the cubicle next to me chatting away, and I was like, well, okay, this is the most bizarre moment of my life. So I was nervous, sort of the kind of concept of it going in, and actually before you start filming, you have to, because all of the recipes that you do for the show, they all have to be your own recipes completely. So you can't plagiarize anything. So everything has to be written from scratch. So to write a recipe, you have to do so much development and practicing and trial and error. And so we had sort of 2 and a bit months before filming to do that. So we had to write and submit every recipe for every week apart from the final before we'd even met anyone. So that period was
pretty intense though.
So intense. And I was still working full time, and no one else apart from my immediate family knew. And you're making all of these bonkers things. So when you've just got to make a cake, it's fine. You can kind of get rid of it and take it to work, and people expect me to bring cakes places. But when we had to make a biscuit puppet theatre or a bread horn, you can't just turn up at work and be like, "Oh yeah, I just made it on Saturday." Because people would think you're mad. So that period was really stressful, and because you hadn't met anyone, and it was you were just kind of on your own, and you were like, "Am I being fooled here?" But to be fair, I had calls with all the producers almost every day, and we had support people and recipe development people that would speak to us every day, and so they were amazing. And then we kind of turned up on the first day, met everyone, and just fell in love with everyone immediately. And the whole production team and everyone is so, everyone just loves the show so much. And you can tell everyone working there knows how special it is. And it's just so relaxed. And you genuinely don't notice the cameras. Because even, the guys holding the cameras, you're just chatting with them. And they're lovely, and you're just kind of catching up. And you're so busy that you do sort of forget everything else that's going on around you. And you just feel like you're with friends, and that bit was a lot less stressful actually. When they said you got 5 minutes left and I still had an hour's work left to do, or when you do the technical challenge and you think, well, I've never heard of that before, those bits are very, very stressful. But it was a very weird dichotomy of it was the best fun of my life mixed with some of the most stressful moments as well. But I just feel so lucky and grateful to have been given that opportunity, because it's such a rarity that not many people get to do. So I just will treasure it forever.
And must have been just lovely for your family and friends, and seeing you on the show and enjoying yourself so much.
Yeah, definitely. Everyone's been so supportive and so happy about it. And I was a bit worried when I told Mum and Dad that I had applied, and I didn't know what they would think, because they are really private people. But Mum loves Bake Off. She's obsessed with it. And she was so excited. And Dad, who'd never watched Bake Off before in his life, he'll walk past people in the street and tell them my son was on Bake Off. Like, he's so proud and excited about it, and it just really nice. It makes me so happy. And I'm just grateful for them, and they really enjoyed it, and it has been amazing.
What's it like watching yourself back on screen? Is it really weird?
Really weird. because we literally don't see a second of it until 6 months after it's all filmed, when everyone else watches it publicly. So you have no idea like what they're gonna include and what they're not. And you are, when it's a 5-hour challenge, you are stood there for 5 hours, and you're chatting the whole time.
5 hours, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a long time. So you have no idea what's gonna go in, and watching it back, it was incredible, because you never get to see, if you go away on holiday with your best friends and have an amazing time, you never get to watch it back.
No.
And it was like that, because I'm so close with all the bakers. They're all coming to our wedding. We've met up so many times since, and they're genuinely one of the most incredible groups of people. It feels like we went on an amazing holiday, had a brilliant time, and then someone made it into a film that we get to watch. Just really surreal watching it. I haven't really watched much of Bake Off since. I haven't watched the new celebrity version and stuff like that, because there's still it gives me a bit of anxiety. And I don't know when the new series comes out this year. I hope I can enjoy it, because there is a part of it that still makes
You've
me
seen
feel
behind the curtain now as well, haven't you?
Which is quite cool, because I'm like, I know that's the drawer where the Pyrexes are, and that's where all the food colouring is.
That's fair, because I think the reason why people love Bake Off, you stop me if you disagree, but there's obviously a huge amount of negativity and angst about everything that's going on in the world at the moment. When you watch Bake Off, it's kind of escapism, isn't it? It's just lovely. You can sort of sink into it, can't you?
Yeah, definitely. It's just this, and also like TV and media and everything is so, and social media is so contrived for anger, and it's meant to, the best way to get reactions in the algorithm is to make people angry,
everyone's scared and angry.
And it's so horrible, and it makes everyone so kind of nervous and on edge the whole time. And I don't know what it is, but Bake Off it's so wholesome, and we all constantly are saying to each other, like, it is just cake, like we know it doesn't matter. So it's so happy. I think it's the best thing in the world, like that, because there's no prize money or anything like that. When I got on and Dad was like, "Oh, so what can you win?" I was like, "A cake stand." So what do you mean a cake stand? Surely it's like £10,000. I was like, no, it's a cake stand.
That's exactly what my dad would have said. Exactly what he would have said.
And he just couldn't understand. Just like, but it's a TV game show. You should win thousands.
A speedboat or something.
Yeah. No, just a cake stand. But I think that's the best thing about it, because it means, yes, it's a competition, but we kept getting told off by the producers when we were helping each other, like, that's enough now, guys. You've got to let them get on, because you just want to help everyone constantly. You really do pull together. And I think because it is a competition, but it's low stakes in the grand scheme of things, and I don't know, and I was worried that it's kind of painted as being this wholesome, wonderful thing, and the reality of it would be much more like cutthroat and like corporate-y, and it wouldn't be as magical in real life, and it would like kind of diminish the whole thing for me. But actually, the opposite is true, and the reality of it is like fairy tale, and the whole, like, Welford Park where it's filmed is so beautiful, and Debbie the owner, like, you see them and they take you around the garden, and it is like going into a fairy tale, and I think that's probably why it is so loved and comes across so well, because it's genuine. It's not contrived like 90% of things on TV. So it is very special.
And you got a really good response because you're a farmer and producing your own food. I think that they obviously loved that, didn't they? And that really came across.
Yeah, definitely. It was something I kind of spoke about right from the very start of my application, because because there's never been a farmer on Bake Off before, which baffles me.
It's hard to believe, that, isn't it?
because
It's been going a long time, isn't it?
baking is going back to like cooking and food.
Yeah.
Baking is such a like all the core ingredients: flour, butter, eggs, sugar. You can link those so closely to farm produce. There's very few rounds of processing and all the rest of it, and you can buy locally.
And it's the farmhouse kitchen thing, isn't it? It's all, you've already mentioned your kitchen and people coming at 10 o'clock for toasting marmalade. It is that. So we grew up with it, didn't we? Our grandmothers and our nuns, everybody bakes and cooks.
Yeah, definitely. They really. If I wasn't making lasagnas until 2 o'clock this morning, I would have made a cake or something for you guys today. I feel bad. But yeah, no, you go into any farmhouse kitchen across the country and there'll be half a cake or some cookies or something, because it is so part of the culture of farming. And I talked about that a lot in my application, which they really loved. And I said that I was really, strongly passionate about only using produce in the tent that was local and British, and I was so overwhelmed by how supportive they were of that. I used Cotswold Matthew flour, and I've toured their mill, and I used all their regen flour, which I just think is brilliant what they're doing, and I used all Silver Spoon British sugar, because lots of people don't know the differences between cane and beet sugar. All the eggs were from our farm here, all the meat was from our farm here, and all the fruit was from my friends when he used to manage a fruit farm. It was all from their farm, and if it wasn't stuff from our farm, then it was from known people or British sources, and they would source all of that directly as well, because they buy all the ingredients, but you can be hyper specific, and they'll do it all. And the judges loved that as well, and we had great conversation. I mean, Paul and Prue are so lovely, and there's the kind of a shame that so much of that kind of doesn't make it into the show, because every single time they do a judging, they spend a good 10 or 15 minutes with every person.
Do they?
And they really, it's so helpful and constructive from our perspective, and they go through every minute detail and they really discuss all the details. We had some great discussions about the produce and things that went in, and I was so pleased that the show kind of liked that aspect of it and really went with it. Yeah,
and the farming community obviously embrace that as well. They've loved, you've got a lot of good press off the back of it in the farming press, and you've been on your farm on Radio 4, as we were talking about. We were fanboying over Charlotte Smith earlier together. The farming community obviously enjoyed you being on there as well.
Yeah, definitely, which I was a bit apprehensive about, because I'm not like the stereotypical farmer necessarily, and I kind of worried if the broader industry would not like the fact that I was representing farmers, and I don't represent all farmers. No one does. That's a silly thing, but I was a bit nervous about what the reaction would be, and I was very pleasantly surprised at how absolutely wonderful everyone was, which was amazing. So yeah.
I wonder whether there is a stereotypical farmer anymore, though, because we're all kind of, I don't know, every farm, as we've discovered doing this podcast and a lot of the stuff, every farm business and every farm family is different, isn't it? I don't know, there are a lot of stereotypes out there that everyone's a kind of 75-year-old white man leaning on a gate, moaning about townies. And I know a few. I do know a few living in the North Wales hills who are a bit like that. But really, we are a very diverse industry, and you are a good example about that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the diversity of all respects has been there in our industry for a very, very long time. Yeah. And it's just not been very visible. And that's the thing that I've kind of learned, and it's one of the good things about social media, is actually because you can get, very isolated and blinkered into your little community on a farm, and you think you're the only person that thinks anything like you do, and actually it's amazing how diverse the industry is, and I think it's something that we're kind of starting to embrace and celebrate as a positive thing, rather than sort of thinking that it doesn't exist and trying to not talk about it.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think and there is we talk a lot about getting new people into the industry, don't we, and new entrants in, and I think everybody recognises that's a good thing and wants to support new entrants.
Yeah.
And there is a place in agriculture for everybody, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely. Because like I said, when I was growing up and sort of started to think that maybe farming wasn't for me, you know, when I was in my teens, and there were lots of things about the industry that I was worried about. And as me, who's someone who grew up in the industry, if I was wondering whether I could see myself in it, how on earth is anyone on the outside, like complete new entrant, if you just see the stereotypical view of a farmer? If you can't see yourself in an environment, it's really hard to imagine you in that environment. So I do think that the more diversity of people and thinking that we can have, the better our industry will be. But we need to make sure that people can see themselves in the industry and want to join, and not have it kind of be closed. And I think definitely in my dad's generation, was much more of a kind of an unknown and a surprise for anyone not in farming to get into and want to be in farming. And I think potentially the industry might have been a bit more reticent to have newcomers so much. You know, a few generations ago,
probably was a bit more of a closed shop, wasn't it?
Yeah, whereas now I think we're kind of totally flipped that on the head, and anyone you speak to is so keen that we need to have new entrants and new people coming in, which is amazing, and we just need to keep that going, I think.
100%. And you are a strong advocate for the LGBTQ community in farming, which shows a big community in farming. I'm very good friends with sort of most of the AgRespect crew, do a brilliant job. You're involved with them as well.
Yeah, definitely. And that was, like I said, in terms of the good things about social media, is when I first came across AgRespect, it literally blew my mind, because I did genuinely think, when I was growing up and kind of coming to terms with my own sexuality and kind of wondering whether like I could fit into the farm and not, you know, marry a woman and have 2.4 children and, you know, do that thing. It was because I didn't know anyone else who ever had, and it just felt like something that didn't happen. It wasn't possible. And then when I came across AgRespect, and there are literally hundreds of people of every single different, you know, sphere of queerness and all other types of diversity, who are not only in the industry but thriving and, you know, working every single different type of job in the industry. People who are married, not married, have got kids. You know, it's such a it was so eye-opening, and I suddenly saw these people, and I was like, oh, I can see me now, and I can see me in the industry, and it is possible. And that it was a complete like seismic shift in my own brain of what I thought was possible. And so that's why I just think it's such an amazing kind of group, and I would implore anyone, like, we're not that active on social media and things like that, but if you drop a message on Instagram or Facebook or something, we've got a WhatsApp group where everyone's always kind of staying in touch and organising events and things. So please just drop a message on any of the social medias and someone will get back to you. And we're always, you know, very happy to have new people get involved. And it is a very kind of open, wonderful group of people, really. Just that visibility, I just think is so important. When I was so honoured, really, a couple of years ago, the NFU, one of the first things that they'd ever done sort of as a pride kind of celebration, they asked me to do when I was a student young farmer ambassador for the NFU, they asked me to do a video about Pride Month, just talking about being a queer farmer. And I did it, and it was amazing, and it had the most incredible response. And I just thought, if I had been like 13, 15, 18 and had seen something like the National Farmers Union in a completely, like, it was a very passive way. I was just a farmer talking about being a farmer. Yeah, absolutely. And that visibility, I think, would have just shaken my whole world to think that was even possible. And actually, that video went out just before cereals. And at cereals that year, it was like insight into Bake Off, because I must have had half a dozen people stop me and say, I saw your video with the NFU, and with a couple of them especially, had amazing conversations where I cried and they cried, and it was such a connection moment, and the people saying how important it was and how amazing it was to see that visibility, and the NFU have carried on doing more and more like that. And I just think that wouldn't have happened when I was, and I'm only 29, so I'm talking like 10, 20 years ago, that wouldn't have happened. So we have come a long way, and there's still a way to go, but things are definitely changing for the better a lot.
Great. You mentioned social media. Did your Instagram following just go through the roof after Bake-Off? You suddenly get loads of notifications.
It really did. I'm terrible with notifications at the best of times. Like, I'll ask anyone, and I'm useless at keeping up with WhatsApp messages and these kinds of things. So actually, Matt now also has my Instagram on his phone, and he's like my secretary. So he'll say if I've got like an important message from someone, or a company's got in touch or something like that, he's like, "Oh, you should really reply to these people." But yeah, so that's been amazing, and again, it's been really nice to be able to do more content about the farm, and people have like loved that and been really interested in that side of it, which is sort of what I kind of wanted to do again, is to just kind of shine a light onto the reality of farming, and so that's been a real privilege really that's sort of happened. And it's just weird. I mean, as soon as Bake-Off kind of started happening, it literally had thousands of DMs and comments, and all of them lovely. Nice. Which was,
that's good.
I was so surprised. And Bake-Off again were brilliant, because we had like prep training beforehand.
I was just going to say, did they give you any sort of warning that
will happen? They really
it could be very overwhelming, couldn't it?
Yeah, massively. And especially for like some of the older contestants who hadn't experienced social media before and things like that. And the producers laid it on really thick of how horrible the internet can be, and how, many mean, horrible things will be said. And we had psychiatrists that we could call and help, and so Bake-Off were amazing.
Take it seriously.
But because they laid it on so thick that it was going to be so horrible, I was really prepared. And then it kind of started happening, and everyone was so lovely. And I was like, what's happening? This is not what I was like. I'd geared myself up for all of this hate and horribleness, and literally had nothing but the most amazing outpourings of love and support. And I saw a really lovely side of social media, which I didn't believe kind of existed. But
well, that's great. So what's the future? Obviously, I'm going to ask you what the future holds for you at the moment. I guess you can't think of anything else other than a wedding. Now you've obviously got a big year with the 2 weddings on the farm, but what does the future hold then? You mentioned the farm shop. It is a possibility.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, last year with Bake-Off was really busy, and I was thinking it'll be a bit quieter this year. But I'm getting married, my sister's getting married, we're building a new grain store, we're building a new office, and we're trying to go through the process of design and planning for a farm shop and cafe. So it's actually got more busy, but it's all really exciting, amazing things. So I don't complain about any of it, because it's amazing. That's the next kind of step, hopefully, is the development of the farm shop, which I think would really be a massive shift in the whole viability of the farm. And I think my sister and I feel really strongly that it would be like our generation's sort of step change to the farm and the business.
Putting your mark.
My mum and dad have had massive impact on the farm in terms of the whole direction of travel and everything that it's doing, and my grandparents before. And I think Chloe and I really feel that it's kind of our job almost, or our responsibility, to put our own stamp on the farm and bring our own thing. And again, we're so lucky that mum and dad are so supportive of that, and they've really bought into it, and they're so passionate and so excited about it now as well, which is just incredible. So I really hope that can be the next sort of big push and change, and if it does go ahead, I'm sure that will be at least 10 years of trial and error and trying to make it work. But how exciting.
And have you thought about doing baking classes in the shop?
So we would love to have, we want to have an in-house butchery, in-house bakery, do all of our own in-house
I'm sure
baked
people
goods.
would love to have you teaching them how to bake.
That would be really cool. I would really love to do that.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing. I'm doing a few food festivals this year, doing baking demonstrations. So we'll see how those go.
Really cool.
Hopefully that'll be kind of the next big shift. And I think just the things that will enable us to do in terms of expanding the livestock and really kind of moving towards integrating those into the wider farming system a bit more. We've started, measuring soil carbon and all of these sorts of things to really kind of understand the environmental impact of the farm, which is my real, on the farm side, that's my real passion, is to kind of be able to produce as much food and be as sort of productive as we possibly can be whilst doing it in a completely hyper-sustainable way. And we've kind of started to make roads into that, but I think in the next 10 to 20 years, that's the thing on the farm that I'm really excited about, being able to kind of grow and explore and make more of that as well.
Mike, it's been brilliant. Thank you so much for welcoming us here.
Thank you so much for coming all this way.
Done on Bake Off.
Thank you.
Must have been an amazing experience, and it's been lovely to hear you talk so passionately about it and the farm and the family and everything.
Amazing. Thank you.
That's the end of the final episode of Series 1 of the Goodyear Farm Tires podcast, Talking Crop. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you to all the farming families we visited all around the UK. It's been an amazing experience, and hopefully we will see you again very soon.